I have been successfully freelancing full-time since July of 2023, but trust me when I tell you, I had a lot of false starts along the way. I started my freelance journey back in 2018. That was the first year that I really said to myself, I think I want to freelance and maybe go full-time doing my own thing and no longer working for somebody else. Now, I did not actually successfully go freelance full-time until 2023. So it took me 5 years to figure out what I actually needed to do. And the biggest mistake that I was making along the way was not really knowing what I wanted and not being clear on the type of business that I was trying to build. I was just letting things come to me and saying yes to anything that came along without thinking it through. I was trying to execute on ideas that weren't really my experience, wasn't really my interest, but it just seemed like it was popular, trendy, or the right thing to do. And at the same time, I wasn't really fully committing to what needed to be done to make the business successful. I had multiple people reach out and want to work with me, which is great. But because of that, I wasn't really thinking the opportunities through. I had a client reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask to work together. And the organization was doing some really cool things that I was interested in supporting. But after a few conversations, it was clear that what he needed and what I focus on weren't in alignment really at all. But I said yes anyway. I thought I could figure it out on the fly. Oh, he wants lead generation and marketing tactics that are not what I do at all. And unfortunately, we had to cut the contract early. We had to kind of fight over her final payment. All of this really could have been avoided if I had just sort of stuck to my guns from the beginning and said, this isn't really a fit for me, but maybe I can find somebody else who can work with you. Another person reached out on LinkedIn. That's a tip. Make sure your LinkedIn is updated and active, and that can bring opportunity to you. But I had somebody reach out on LinkedIn and ask to work with her. And again, once sort of learning more about the work, I just wasn't interested. And that's another thing. It's okay to say this work is good. This work is, productive work, but it's just not work that I'm interested in, because we can't all like everything. Some stuff is just not your cup of tea. So I just wasn't interested in it. But instead of standing firm in that, I kind of went back and forth and sort of ended up sending in kind of like a half-assed proposal. And she told me no. She said, I didn't like the proposal because I think she could feel the half-assedness of it. So ultimately, again, if I had just stuck to my instincts, I wouldn't have even gone through all that back and forth. I had another example of a friend who started a business a long time ago. She's had her own business for a long time. And the area that she works is more in the content space, and I'm more PR. And she was asking for help with a client who wanted PR. But once I sort of knew what the client was working on, I really wasn't interested. It was actually very out of alignment with the work that I like to do. And so, but I said yes again anyways. What is going on? I said yes anyways, only to come back and say no. And she was upset with me, and it caused a whole thing that didn't need to be caused, because once again, I didn't just stick to my instincts and stick to what I knew. So if you don't take anything away from this video, take away 2 things: that you need to know what you want to do and stick with that. And you need to be able to say no if something comes along that isn't right for you. It can feel tempting to say, oh, people are coming to me, people are asking me for my help and my assistance, and I don't want to say no. I don't want to let people down. I don't want to disappoint people. But if you say yes to something that isn't what you really should be doing, you will end up like me, disappointing people anyway, because you didn't come through, and actually they're more disappointed that you said yes to start with and then change your mind. So that, man, big mistakes that I made along the way. And finally, when my last go round, I figured out this is what I need to be doing. This is where I need to be focused. And that is when everything changed. That's when the client relationships were running really smoothly and everything was going the way it needed to go. If you've watched this or any of my previous videos, you hear me talk a lot about the questions you need to ask yourself before you get started. There's actually 7 really important questions that you need to sort of discuss with yourself and reflect on before you really get serious about your freelance journey. And I have created a worksheet with those 7 questions. It's a fillable worksheet, so you can go in there and really write down the exact answers and be able to go back and reference it in the future. I have made that worksheet available to download in the link in the caption or the bio, wherever you're watching this. And just do that for yourself. If you're interested, if you have really been thinking a lot about getting started with freelancing, make sure you start with this worksheet and start with answering these questions, because it will keep you from making a lot of the mistakes that I just talked about and other mistakes that come up along the way if you don't have a clear vision to start with. So definitely encourage you, download that worksheet and get started on the right foot with your freelance journey.